YouTube, what is going on, everyone? Your boy C5 Zach back at it again, and today we got some fun stuff for the C5 Corvette. So I actually got a set of ATS-V front calipers. They're 4-piston and they're OEM, like I said, off of ATS-V Cadillac Brembos. See them right here. So I got 2 for the front, bigger rotors, same size as a C6 Z and Grand Sport rotors. And then we got new pads and new rotors for the rear as well to go along with the stock calipers. So that's what I'm going to be getting into today. So this swap, from what I've seen, is actually pretty simple, should be pretty straightforward. These calipers pretty much just bolt right up. You just need some washers to center the caliper on the rotor itself. But other than that, it should bolt right up to our C5 behind us. And so I did something similar. My Sierra Denali, it's a 2011, and the 2019 and up trucks actually come with 4-piston calipers from the factory, and it's a cheap upgrade, very similar to this, pretty much same cost and everything. And you know, it bolted right on. I just needed washers to center the caliper on the rotor, so same concept here. I did make a video on my truck a little over a year ago when I did that, but yeah. So I just wanted to say, same concept with that, bolts right on, and that's what we're gonna be doing today. I'll share the part numbers and everything with you guys, of course, because I know you guys are gonna be interested. I got everything from Rock Auto, I believe. I think all in total, I'll try to include the receipt if I remember, but I think for everything I spent $400, $450, maybe $500 for everything. And that's the front calipers, rotors, front and rear, pads, front and rear, and you know, any miscellaneous hardware, paint, because I'm going to paint the calipers, of course, and I got some Brembo decals to go along with it. I think will be a nice touch. And my buddy, so these are a little pricey, but my buddy actually gave these to me for free. Shout out to Matt if you're watching this. Hooked me up with these braided stainless steel brake lines for free, and they should fit the front and rear. There's a part number for those. If they don't fit, you know, I won't recommend them, but I think they'll fit with this setup that we're doing. So we're gonna find out, man. But first things first, I gotta get this thing in the air. Gonna bust out my quick jacks over there, get this thing up off the ground, and we'll get cracking on this, man. All right, guys, got the OEM stock calipers off. along with the brackets. For the calipers, it is just a 15 mil bolt. There's 2 of them. And then for the actual caliper bracket itself, it is a 13/16 or whatever that is in metric. I just found a 13/16, so I use that. And then we got our pads here. They actually have a lot of life left. But I've had these pads on the car since I've got it almost 4 years ago. So these definitely got to go. Same with the rotors. I've never touched the brakes on this car. Yeah, they're pretty glazed, rusty, a lot of life, but that doesn't mean they're good. So yeah, definitely needed this swap. My brakes get pretty spongy and just don't stop like I know they should. So yeah guys, we're gonna keep pressing forward. I'm gonna take this rotor off, throw on the new stuff and see how it fits and see what we gotta do to get it on there. They literally just bolted right on. Took me 2 seconds, just like you're throwing your stock brakes back on. But they do touch the rotor surface right here, just barely. So that's the reason for the calipers, or sorry, not the calipers, reason for the washers that we're gonna install. And it's hard to tell, but it barely touches at the top too on the caliper itself. So we're gonna have to grind down some of this surface, which is no biggie. I was aware of both of these things. I've seen some people have issues with where they do have to grind down the caliper, like we're gonna have to do here. And it just depends on the rotors you get, from what I hear. So I believe these are OEM C6Z rotors, and they barely touch the caliper. So we're gonna have to clearance that some, but shouldn't be too big of a deal. And yeah, so I'm gonna throw the washers on, see how I can get this thing spaced out properly, and get back to you guys. Well guys, so I ended up just using one of these washers here. I'll link it below. I didn't buy these for this job. I actually bought these for the truck kit I was doing, I was telling y'all about earlier. Exact same washer, and yeah, they're the same thing for this. So I already had these laying around. I'll link them in the description. I only needed to use one on each bolt, and I'll try to show you guys where they go. See if I can get in here. I know, excuse the red paint. But they go, let's see if I can point at it for y'all. They go right here in between the knuckle and the caliper itself. Right here, that's the washer. You got your caliper bolt and your washer, caliper, rotor right here. So that's where the washer goes. One on each. You know, obviously you got your top and then your bottom bolt down there. Kind of hard to see, but so I just needed that one. Spaced it out just perfectly to have enough clearance on both sides. And I lucked out because I'm not even gonna have to grind this. It just fits good enough. As y'all can see, no grinding, no noises, perfectly smooth. So I'm pretty happy about that. I was a little annoyed that I was gonna have to grind down the inside of the caliper, but thankfully we do not. So one of those washers is perfect, at least for my setup. So yeah, man. Luckily we don't have to do a ton of modifying, and that's the whole point of this kit, is you don't have to modify anything. Literally just one washer and the rest just bolts up. So that being said, I'm gonna see if these stainless steel brake lines, see if these fit up properly. And if they do, I'll go ahead with that. And then get these calipers painted, show y'all that. And then we can get to doing the rest of the car, throwing in the pads and all of that good stuff. So I'm gonna get working on that. Okay guys, so if you're removing your stock brake lines like I am and replacing them with these stainless steel lines from StopTech, it is going to be a 13 mil for the caliper bolt, the one that goes to the line itself right there. You're going to get brake fluid everywhere, so get a pan. 13 mil for that. Then you have this bracket here that bolts to the car right there, right up here. It's going to be a 10 mil for that bracket, and then also for this hard line, it is also a 13 mil. So you're going to have to break that loose while it's still on the car, then take that bracket off. And then we're going to have to reuse this bracket. So I'm going to kind of have slots right here, and I'm just going to pry it out with a flathead screwdriver. Try to get it out that way, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is only if you're swapping lines. You don't have to. I believe you can just bolt the stock ones right back into the ATS-V caliper, but I'm upgrading anyways, so just a couple extra steps, and yeah, it'll be good to replace all the fluid for sure. So okay, so I got that bracket separated. It was actually pretty easy with the flathead. Just popped right out. Got the new stainless steel line back in that bracket, and made sure to slide the clip in all the way. Sorry it's dark. Got it tightened up for now, just to, you know, make sure everything lines up and stuff. So stainless steel line's in, obviously not hooked up to the caliper. So now that I've verified that it's gonna fit and work, I am going to scuff up this caliper and shoot it with some paint. So I'm excited to get this thing painted, get the decals on, and keep it rolling. Alright, it's actually the next day here. It was raining last night, so I didn't end up painting, but I did scuff up this passenger side caliper with some 600 grit. 320 would probably be better. I don't have any, so 600 is the next best thing I had, which it's fine. It scuffed it up good enough. And yeah, so I'm gonna try to lay down some paint. It's supposed to rain again all day today, and so I'm gonna try to get these painted before it starts raining. So let's get this paint on and knock it out, man. Guys, I got the calipers all painted up yesterday. Still got to do the rears, but as far as the fronts go, these are done. Sadly, this one did not come out perfect. I think this is the driver's side. So both of them actually fell on the concrete while I had them in the air on my little painter's hoist thingy, whatever it's called. And both of them fell on the concrete. This one got decently messed up, as you can see here. I still went ahead and painted it anyways. And then this one, I literally just messed it up by moving it around, but this one came out pretty good overall. And yeah, I might be redoing these, but we'll see. For a rattle can, pretty good. This one also got rained on at one point too. It was not a good day for paint, but overall they still came out pretty good. Alright guys, I just got the driver's side put on, and all assembled, everything tightened down. A little sneak peek, but so now I'm going to show you how to assemble the caliper. It's pretty simple, but I'm going to show you guys just in case there's any questions. And you have to buy the hardware kit separately, meaning the slide and the pins. So I'm going to show you guys how to assemble that, throw in the brake pads, and get it on the car. Alright, so first thing, you want to grease up your new brake pads, the back of them, and which we're going to do. Like I said, guys, I'll throw in part numbers for everything in the description. That's kind of off cam right now, but throwing some grease on these. Don't want nothing squeaking. Like so. Just that back metal surface. Do the same with the other one. Try not to get your greasy hands all over the pad itself. Try to keep that clean. Alright, once you're done with that, you're gonna set the pads in the caliper. The holes go where the pins line up with. That makes sense. It'll make sense what you're doing once you're doing it, but so just set in the pad like so. Alright, and they should hold themselves in decently. Next, you're going to want to take your pins, throw some grease on those too. It's probably too much, but that's okay. Don't want anything squeaking, rattling around. Pad just fell off, but that's okay. Alright, so get both of your pins set into place. They're going to go in from the back side of the caliper, and that's because the backside hole is bigger than the front, and there's this little bushing, I'd call it, that sits in the back, and that's how it's going to stay in place. And then the front has the smaller holes. So get that lined up, get it through both of your brake pads like that. That's fine, it's not going to hold in place for now, but then you're going to need to take a hammer and hammer the pins in. So you're going to hammer your pins in, mess up your your freshly painted caliper. I know, I'm going to have to redo these at some point. It's whatever. This is all for demonstration purposes. So now both of your pins are in. They're fully seated on the back. It's all the way in there. And then it's poking out through the front a little bit, like so. And so next you'll want to take your slide, and then that just hooks in, you know, like the typical slide does on brakes. Alright, so there's your fully assembled caliper. Like I said, this slide, it just hooks over both of your pins like so, snaps into place. And yes, you're going to have movement until you get this on the car. As you can see, you know, the pad just slides down because of how I have it angled right now. Once you get in the car, it'll hold into place with the rotor, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about right now. Alright guys, I also wanted to mention you want to get new caliper bolts, the mounting bolts themselves. Here's a part number. I'll also throw in the link in the description, of course, just like everything else. But you want to get new bolts, and reason being is the stock ones they stretch, and you don't want to reuse them. I'm sure guys probably do reuse them. I've done it before, but they're only like 10 bucks or so for all 4 of them. Just get new ones. It'll could save you some trouble in the future. And you want to Loctite them. And these are actually a stock size for the 85 to 13 Corvettes, which is just your stock C5 size. And yeah, you want the longer size, like these. What I'm trying to say is the stock C5 mounting bolts are perfect length because you're throwing in the washer in the middle. And if you use the ATS-V mounting bolts, I believe they fit, but it's a shorter bolt, so you're not gonna have as much thread engagement. onto the caliper, and you obviously don't want that. So stock C5 bolts, get new ones, red Loctite, torque them down. I'll throw in the torque spec as well. And yeah, just wanted to mention that. All right, so this is how your guys' setup should look. So you're gonna have your new bolts, the OEM washer that was on the original bolts. You're gonna keep that where it was. So behind the knuckle. Then you have your aftermarket washer that's gonna sit in between the caliper and the knuckle like I showed you guys earlier. So this is how your setup should look. I only needed one washer. Yours should be the same. So yeah, just make sure to Loctite it also, and you'll be good to go. So I got everything bolted down, tightened down. Got the stainless steel brake lines hooked up. As you can see, got those all tightened down. And yeah, sorry I didn't film much of it. It's hard to see in there with the camera. But another tip I also wanted to mention is, so if you have your calipers backwards, which you can do, I learned this the hard way with my truck, you can actually have the your bleeder upside down. So I could have had this side, the driver's side on this side, and the bleeder would have been on the bottom, and then the air would not be able to bleed out properly. So just pay attention to that. Make sure your bleeder is facing up. This one has two of them on the front and back, but make sure they're facing up. That's how you know you have the correct side. And yeah, if not, you'll just never be able to properly bleed them. Did that with my truck. I couldn't figure out why my brake pedal was still spongy after, you know, constantly bleeding them. So just a little tip, bleeder goes up always. Alrighty guys, I'm gonna move on with doing the rear brakes. And like I said, for the rear, I'm just doing OEM pad and rotors. And yeah, there is upgrade you can do. I know there's like the J55 upgrade. You can use the C6Z calipers. There's different calipers you can do for the rear as well, but I opted out not to do that this time around. Just the front four piston. But yeah, there is options you can do if you want to balance it more and have, you know, bigger calipers in the rear to look better. So there's options for that. But like I said, I'm just doing OEM rotors and pads on the rear. So I'm gonna knock that out and I'll show you guys some of it. all the new brake pads, rotors on, all four corners. So now it is finally time to bleed the system of whatever's left in it, fluid-wise. So we're gonna bleed each corner, starting with this side right here, the passenger side rear, and then work our way up to the front driver side. So I'm gonna bleed all the brakes, get some fresh .4 fluid in, and we'll finally see if these brakes work and how they feel. Alright, if you guys aren't familiar with bleeding brakes yourself, it's actually really easy to do. Pretty much for free. You don't need any fancy tools either. Literally just an empty water bottle or plastic bottle that you can fill up and that you don't care about. And so I'll walk you guys through it real quick. So I have this sprayer bottle, couldn't find a water bottle, but you want to fill it up with clean brake fluid, you know, a decent amount, an inch or so. Get a hose that fits around the bleeder screw itself, the nipple. I have this kit, it's from a transmission fluid pump actually. Fits perfectly around the bleeder screw. So you want to submerge one end of the hose into your clean brake fluid, attach the other end to the bleeder screw, fill your reservoir all the way up with fresh clean fluid, tighten the cap, and then you'll loosen the bleeder screw just a little bit, and then it'll start flowing. You want to press the brake pedal very slowly. You don't want to force it, and you don't want to go all the way down, because that can blow out the seals on the master cylinder. At least that's what I've heard. But yeah, then you'll start building pressure. You'll see the fluid flowing like you guys saw in the previous clip. And that's how you get fresh, clean fluid, get all the air bubbles out, and it's actually really easy. So I'm just gonna repeat that step for the rest of the sides. I just did the passenger rear, so now I'm gonna do the driver rear, passenger front, and then the driver front. And just repeat that. Keep fresh fluid topped off in the reservoir. Close your line before you open the cap back up, obviously, so you don't let air back in. But yeah, I'm using .4 as well. It's a good time to switch since everything's empty right now anyways. But yeah, man, it's actually really easy. There's some good videos on it. I think I've seen 1A Auto has a pretty good video of bleeding brakes by yourself, but that's the gist of it. Okay guys, I got all the brakes bled, pedal is firm, everything's working properly. Very important, please listen to this. If you didn't listen to anything else, please pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. This is very important, and just something I didn't know about. So these Brembo calipers, they actually have two bleeders, one in the front, one in the back. I had mentioned that before. I've never had a set of calipers this nice, so I honestly just thought you could use either one, and you know, the other is just a spare you can have. As I was saying, you do have to bleed both of those bleeder screws on each of the front calipers. And the way you're supposed to do it, I had to look this up, you're supposed to do the outside first, and then the inside, and same with the other side. The order I went in is, I think I already said this, but passenger rear, driver rear, passenger front, driver front. You want to work your way up towards the master cylinder, starting as far away as you can, that way to get all the air out and whatnot. But yeah, very important to bleed both of those bleeders on the front calipers. I only did the one because I wasn't aware of that, and I was still having issues with the pedal. Did some thinking, I was like, oh wait, there's another one. Let me look that up, and sure enough, yeah. Bleed both of them, like I said. Pedal solid now. So with that being said, man, I'm about to blast these wheels back on the car, get this thing on the ground, clean up my mess, and go for a drive. Gonna see what's see what these brakes do. so I'm going for a quick test drive. Try these bad boys out. So far they work, so that's always a good sign. I feel weird looking at oncoming traffic, cameras sticking out of my head. Oh well. Them up a little bit and they feel great, man. These things are such a big improvement, especially over the stock ones that I had on for probably 10 years or so, who knows. Yeah, they feel great. They want to throw me through the windshield, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I just barely tap them. I was gonna go left, but the light changed, so don't really want to wait. Up the ABS again. I need to break these pads in, but yeah, they feel great. And like I said, guys, I will link everything down in the description for you. That way you can order what I got, or you know, your own variation of it. I'm hearing some ticking coming from like the front left of my car. It might just be my exhaust, but something I might have to look at. But knock on wood, man, so far so good. She feels great. The brakes feel amazing. So much better than what was on the car. My God. I needed that. I think it's just my exhaust ticking. I need to tighten it up and get it welded and throw on my Corsa Sport mufflers that I've just had sitting for like over a year. I need to throw them on. feels good, dude. I love this car. Perfect day out. New big brakes on. Well guys, that is going to be a wrap on this install, man. Just a quick recap. We did the Cadillac ATS-V front Brembo calipers, excuse me. We did those, the 4-piston ATS-V Brembos. Rear, we just did stock pads and rotors. We also did the C6Z / Grand Sport front rotors that are drilled. And yeah, fresh .4 fluid. They feel great, man. As hopefully y'all can tell from those few driving clips, I was locking the brakes up like nothing, barely any pressure. And before, my brakes would kind of just like slide and not really hook or catch or grip. But yeah, I think this was well worth it. Great upgrade. Pretty easy to do. It just bolts right on. All for like $400 or $500, and that's including the rear. So if you're just doing the fronts, probably $300 or so. Yeah, man, like I said, I will link everything in the description below. You got any questions, let me know. Hopefully I covered everything, but till next time, man, peace and thanks for watching.